time, so I'm here to bring you my May and June wrap-up, because I never did a May wrap-up, and it's July. I am doing a new thing inspired by Angela over at Literature Science Alliance. I will leave a link to her channel in the description down below. She did this thing where she separated all of the books that she read into different categories and recommended them based on the category that they were in. She also had star rankings on the screen, but there are going to be no star rankings on the screen for this video because I don't give star ratings. I have pretty good reviews on Goodreads for all of the books that I'm mentioning, and I am going to try and give you like a brief summary of my thoughts along with a summary of what the book entails. But the categories should hopefully tell you what the book is without me having to tell you a lot about the book. So first, we're going to start with my contemporaries. These are in no particular order. These are just the order I wrote them down in. But Running with Lions. This is a sports contemporary, a gay sports contemporary, as if I would read a straight sports contemporary. But yeah, so this is real good. I really enjoyed this book. It's the first book I read by Julian Winters, and I just finished How to Be Remy Cameron, and that was also excellent. So you should go read Julian Winters' works because they are fantastic. On a different note, we have Solitaire by Alice Oseman. This is the last book of Alice Oseman's that I had to read before Loveless came out. I haven't read Loveless because it's not out yet, but I've read all of her books now because I read Solitaire, and in case you forgot, my copy is signed and personalized. But anyway, this is like a more of a mental health contemporary, and I enjoyed this. I think out of all of Alice Oseman's books, this is my least favorite, but I still enjoyed it a lot. Like, I loved learning about Tori's perspective because of Heartstopper, and like, I liked seeing like what happened with Charlie, and so that was good. Really liked it, but like compared to Radio Silence and I Was Born for This, it's my least favorite. Next we have Felix Ever After, which deals with some real transphobic shit. So I don't really know what to classify it as, other than a contemporary. Basically, Felix is this trans guy, and somebody puts up pictures of before he transitioned and his dead name up all over the school, and he wants to figure out who did it and like basically do the same thing to them. It's real good. It is about a like very messy teenager. Like, Felix is not perfect at all. And he does some really messy things. But I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed, there's a lot of questioning of identity in this book, and I've really enjoyed that too. So overall, I would definitely recommend Felix Ever After. I definitely liked it more than Case and Calendar's other book that I've read. This is kind of an epic love story. I liked it more than I liked that book. I haven't read their other works, but out of the two that I've read, it's my favorite. And finally, we have the looks like it's going to be a cute contemporary on the cover, but is actually this hard-hitting contemporary, and that's The Music of What Happens. So from the cover and the synopsis, at least from what I remember of the synopsis, it makes it sound like it's going to be this cute contemporary about these guys falling in love on a food truck. It is not about that. I mean, it is, but that's all in the background of this guy's sexual assault. This book goes real hard in like talking about like how this guy feels about his sexual assault and like how it happened and how like he feels like he's gonna be perceived because of it, and just a bunch of hard-hitting stuff that I was not expecting. And that kind of like not ruined the book, but like I didn't enjoy it that much, honestly. I think if you go into the book knowing what you're gonna get out of it, you'll probably enjoy it more than I did. But I was just completely surprised by what it was about, and I was just not in the mood for that. Like, I just finished the Poppy War. I was not in the mood. I wanted a light, fluffy contemporary. And that's not what I got. So the next category we have is memoirs. I read 3 whole memoirs in the months of May and June. So first I read Sean David Hutchinson's Brave Face. This was about basically his struggle with depression. And as somebody who struggles with depression, I found it really relatable. And I learned what not to do if you're trying to like kill yourself. Because there is a suicide attempt, and he's really good about telling you when it is. Even in the audiobook, because I listened to the audiobook, he was like, okay, now I'm going to talk about my suicide attempt. If you don't want to listen to it, skip ahead. And I was like, I appreciate that, but I listened to it anyway. And basically, learned some things not to do, which was definitely not what you were supposed to take away from that, but my mind works in really ridiculous ways, and that's what I got out of that particular portion of the book. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. As a person who struggles with depression, I was like, damn, I relate to this. Wow. So, yeah. If you want a depression memoir, there you go. The next memoir I read was Sorted by Jackson Bird. It has a longer title, but I didn't write it down because I'm lazy. On the cover, it says it's a transgender memoir, and that is right. It's basically about Jackson's, like, transition, but not just his transition, because it covers beforehand when he didn't, like, he was still figuring out that he was trans, and then it covers, like, afterward, where, like, he's done transition things, and he talks about how, like, top surgery, for example, doesn't fix all of your dysphoria. And I was like, wow. A+. Like, this was, I think, my favorite memoir, just because, like, I don't know, it was just real good. He includes a glossary of words, so, like, if you aren't familiar with, like, trans things, and you still want to read a memoir to maybe learn more about trans things, I would recommend this memoir, because he's really good about explaining what everything is, and yeah, it's real good. I highly recommend it. And finally, I listened to All Boys Aren't Blue, by George M. Johnson. This one was also really fucking good. This is basically about, like, being Black and gay and what the intersection of those two identities means, and, like, how much more difficult it is to have two marginalizations. And just, it's about, like, his life. Obviously, it's a memoir. And, like, I thought it was really good. There's some really good talk about names, whereas, like, you can like, straight up, you can change your name. You don't have to like your name that was given to you at birth. It's your name. You should be comfortable with it. And I'm like, yes, I love this. We love it. So, excellent memoir. You should go read it. Next, we have the category called hard-hitting fantasy with political, in parentheses, war elements. And the first one is The Poppy War. This is a very hard-hitting fantasy, meaning it has a lot of trigger warnings, basically all of the trigger warnings. And, like, it's about Ren, who is, like, from like the poor community, and like she takes this test and gets into like the top military school, and then a war breaks out and she has to go fight in it. And it's really, honestly, it's about like the horrors of war, more than anything else, I would say. But it does have fantasy elements in it, because Ren's whole thing is like she can communicate with gods if she takes a thing, like a drug. And like the whole squad she's in like can do the same thing. So yeah, it's definitely a fantasy, but like the war is the main aspect of it. Next we have The Electric Air by Victoria Lee. My fingers are over her last name. But this is the sequel to The Fever King. And you may be wondering, how is this a hard-hitting fantasy with political elements? Or war elements? It has both. So this book has basically all kinds of abuse in it, and it also deals with the trauma from that abuse. So if you're not a fan of reading about that kind of shit, I would not recommend this book for you. But if you're okay with reading that kind of shit, let me get into the political/war elements. There's a lot of political intrigue in the first book, and it leads to a lot of political intrigue in this book. I'm not going to tell you, like, what happens, because that would be a spoiler for the first book, so I can't really tell you what happens. But if you've read the first book, just know that things go from 0 to 60 pretty quickly. There's a lot of murder in this book as well. And yeah, it's a hard-hitting fantasy with political/war elements in it. But I highly, highly recommend it if you are okay with those elements, because it's very good. So, go read The Fever King, and which also has some abuse elements in it. And so, if you're not okay with that, don't read The Fever King. But if you are okay with that, go read The Fever King, and then you can read The Electric Air, and just come talk to me about the Fever Wake duology, because it's so good! Next, we have fantasy with pure beans and cute romance. So first we're going to talk about Reverie by Ryan LaSala. This book is basically like, what if you could go into dreams, but you had to like act out the dreams perfectly, or the dreams would like turn on you and try and kill you. And it's really good. So the main character has amnesia and like doesn't really remember anything about these dreams. And so it's about him like figuring it out. And then there's also it's a slow burn, but it's not a typical slow burn, because the character has amnesia, so he doesn't know like he was in love with this other person until like maybe the middle or 3/4 of the way through. But it's a really cute romance, and the main character is definitely a pure bean, so that's why I put it into this category. It's really good. I really enjoyed this. This was my first read of the Queerlit Readathon, and I really fucking enjoyed this book. Next, we have Cemetery Boys. Obviously, if you've seen my mid-year freakout tag, you know that I absolutely loved Cemetery Boys. And it's a fantasy because it has, all of the witchy, ghosty elements. And, it has a pure bean. Yadriel is a pure bean, but so is Julian, honestly. They're both pure beans. And they have a cute romance. So, pure beans with cute romance, done. Go pre-order Cemetery Boys, y'all. It's so fucking good. Finally, I read Mooncakes, which is a graphic novel about a witch and a werewolf trying to basically kill this demon. It's real cute. The characters are pure beans. The romance is cute. It's good. I really enjoyed it. Things did move slightly quicker than I wanted them to, like romance-wise. I would have liked more of a slow burn, but it's okay. It's a graphic novel, so like I understood, like it's not multiple volumes, it's just one graphic novel. So I was like, okay, I mean, I can see why you went faster than usual. The artwork is real good. The next category is a contemporary with a twist. So, Cemetery Boys technically could have gone in this category, but I thought the pure beans and the cute romance fantasy it fit better in that category. But anyway, first we have Dark and Deep's Dread by Anna Marie McLemore. This is technically magical realism, but I didn't want to just have one book in the magical realism category, which I guess I could have put Cemetery Boys in there too, but it's fine. Contemporary with a twist. It's a contemporary with a twist, although it does have historical elements in it as well. Basically, there's like two perspectives. There's like the dancing plague of like the 1500s and France, and then there's like now, where there's these cursed shoes, and somebody can't get them off their feet. I didn't enjoy this book as much as I enjoyed When the Moon Was Ours, but I still enjoyed this book. And then we have The Apocalypse of Elena Mendoza by Sean David Hutchinson. This is a contemporary with a twist because the main character performs miracles. It reads just like a contemporary, but the main character can perform miracles, and so they have to deal with like saving the world, kind of. And yeah, so every time she does a miracle, people disappear. And so she's trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. And there's also like a cute sapphic romance in this book. And I enjoyed it. I think, yeah, okay. So it's like my third favorite Sean David Hutchinson books out of the 4 that I've read, but I still really enjoyed it. And then finally in my contemporary with a twist category, we have The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune. So this is a contemporary with a twist because it involves superheroes. It is very, very good. So the main character writes fan fiction of his favorite superheroes, and it's hilarious, honestly. And there's also a very, very obvious romance in this book. And I mean, it's kind of like a love triangle, honestly, but it's like done well. So like, it's not a bad love triangle by any means. It's really good. Like, even though you know which characters are probably which superheroes, it's really fucking good. And it comes out soon, so you should pre-order it, because I think there's also a pre-order campaign for this as well. It comes out July 14th. Hopefully I'll have this video up by then and you can go pre-order it. And finally, we have fantasy that felt inspired by West Asia. So first, obviously, is We Hunt the Flame. I unfortunately did not jive with the audiobook of this, and it was hard because I didn't know how to, like, the author uses words that I believe are Arabic. I'm not quite sure, but I'm pretty sure they're Arabic. And doesn't really give you a definition, kind of like in Cemetery Boys with Spanish. But in Cemetery Boys, I had access to Google Translate and Wikipedia. With an audiobook, you don't have that. So I was not able to look up any of the words that I didn't know. And so I was just lost this whole time. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. So I decided to DNF it and try and read it physically so I can like look up the words that I don't know. So yeah, we're gonna try and read that physically one day. And then not so obviously inspired by West Asia is Beyond the Black Door. So to be honest, I don't know why I said this was inspired by West Asia. Like, I can't point to a specific thing and be like, oh yeah, West Asia definitely inspired that. It just gave me a vibe. It gave me that West Asian vibe. And I was like, okay, I need another book for this category, so it's not just one book in a category. So I put this book in there. It's not like a direct it's not like directly inspired by West Asia, but I feel like it's a little bit inspired by West Asia. And I liked this book. It wasn't anything great, but it wasn't bad. It was disappointing if you've watched my mid-year freakout tag, but it wasn't bad. It just was okay, and not what I was expecting or wanted, honestly. I wanted something else, and I didn't get it. So that's why I was like, this is okay. So yeah. Read it if you want to. I didn't really give you a synopsis. It's about, like, this girl who can, like, walk through dreams, or, like, dream houses. People have dream houses, and this girl can, like, enter them and, like, get secrets and shit. So there's a black door in her dream house, or she doesn't have a dream house, and all of the dream houses she goes to, there's a black door. Does she open it and bad things happen? Who's to say? So if you actually made it through the entire long-ass wrap-up that I just gave, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek into what I have planned. I'm giving away this copy of the Heartstopper coloring book because I have 2 copies, and I don't need 2 copies. I don't know how I'm going to do this giveaway yet, though, so this is not an official announcement. Just be on the lookout for official announcement. The only restriction is that I can't do international shipping right now because I am broke as fuck. So US only, unfortunately, but if you do live in the US, I can ship it to you probably pretty cheaply. And yeah, so I want to spread the joy because this is amazing. And yeah, so be on the lookout for that. And with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.